Since we were kids, we've been handed a script, a story so deeply ingrained that we barely question it. It's the American dream, drilled into us by parents, grandparents, teachers, and even the ever-smiling real estate agent on the street corner. Buy a house, build equity, secure your future, and prove you've made it as an adult. Renting? That's throwing money away. By the time you hit 30, the pressure feels like a weight on your chest. Rent becomes shameful, as if choosing not to buy means you've failed to launch, that you're financially incompetent, or that you're just unwilling to grow up. Panic sets in. People buy homes they can barely afford, stretch their debt-to-income ratios to the limit, and convince themselves they are making wise decisions, simply because they signed a deed. It's a cultural narrative that has worked for generations, but today, in the modern economy, it can be a trap. The reality is that for millions of people, a home is not an asset, it is a liability. It's an enormous, leveraged consumption purchase masquerading as investment. Every month, as you pay your mortgage, a large portion of your payment, especially in the early years, doesn't actually go toward building equity. Instead, it flows straight to the bank as interest. Property taxes, routine maintenance, insurance, and the hidden fees of buying and selling a home only deepen the drain. In many cases, the unrecoverable costs of owning a home are as high as, or higher than, the cost of renting a comparable place. You're not building wealth. You're paying a different set of landlords, the bank, the government, and the endless demands of upkeep and repairs. Think about it. In the first decade of home ownership, tens of thousands of dollars vanish in interest payments alone. Your financial freedom, the ability to move, and the opportunity to invest elsewhere are all constrained. To decide whether buying actually makes sense, you need to step back and look at the numbers objectively. That's where the price-to-rent ratio comes in, a simple but powerful metric that cuts through the hype. Divide the purchase price of a home by the annual cost to rent a similar property, and you get a figure that helps you weigh buying against renting. Historically, a ratio under 15 tends to favor buying, while ratios above 20 suggest renting is financially smarter. Today, in many major cities, ratios are pushing 25, 30, or more, which mathematically favors renting. Beyond just numbers, consider the opportunity cost of the down payment. Putting $100,000 into a home locks that cash into a single, illiquid asset. That money cannot be invested in diversified markets, cannot fund your lifestyle elsewhere, and cannot grow under the compounding power of time. In contrast, disciplined renters who invest the difference between rent and home ownership, costs can maintain liquidity, flexibility, and access to high-return opportunities. They can participate in markets that historically outperform real estate, keep their options open to relocate for better careers, and avoid the hidden, psychological and financial stress of maintaining a physical asset. Owning a home is often sold as the ultimate stability, but in reality, it carries invisible burdens, unexpected repairs, rising property taxes, insurance hikes, and the endless mental load of preserving a depreciating physical asset. Renting, strategically managed, can provide freedom, optionality, and a platform to invest, grow, and build wealth in a diversified, liquid portfolio. Every month, every dollar you allocate intentionally can either compound toward your financial independence or be drained by obligations that don't serve your future. The decision isn't about morality, pride, or social approval. It's about math, strategy, and the ability to control your own financial trajectory. By questioning the American dream narrative, analyzing costs, and choosing flexibility and investment wisely, you can turn what society calls renting into a powerful wealth-building tool while keeping your freedom and options intact. Most people never stop to calculate the true cost of home ownership, because the narrative has been sold so convincingly for generations. They see a mortgage payment and assume it's an investment in their future, when in reality, for the first decade or more, the majority of that payment is interest, disappearing into the ether. Add property taxes, which climb year after year, and the hidden maintenance costs that no one tells you about. The roof that leaks after a storm, the furnace that dies in winter, the plumbing that fails when you least expect it, and suddenly, that seemingly solid investment starts to look like a money pit disguised as stability. Insurance premiums rise. Labor costs for repairs surge. Even the transaction costs if you ever want to sell, agents' fees, closing costs, staging, can wipe out years of equity in a single moment. Owning a home is far from passive. It is a constant stream of financial demands disguised as a badge of adulthood. Contrast that with renting, and the difference becomes clear. Renters enjoy liquidity, mobility, and freedom from unexpected expenses. When a water heater explodes or a pipe bursts, the landlord absorbs the cost. Renters can relocate for better job opportunities, lifestyle changes, or lower living costs without the burdensome friction of selling a home. This optionality is not just convenience, it has tangible financial value. Meanwhile, the money saved by not being house poor can be invested in diversified assets like stocks, bonds, or retirement accounts, compounding over time to create real wealth. Even modest, consistent investments can outperform the potential appreciation of a home over decades, especially when accounting for inflation and transaction costs. By strategically renting and investing the difference, you gain both flexibility and the opportunity to grow your net worth faster than someone trapped in a heavily leveraged, illiquid asset. Then there's the psychological factor, often overlooked but no less significant. Homeownership carries a mental and emotional burden. Every creak in the floorboards, every stain on the carpet, every unexpected repair becomes your responsibility. Weekends that could be spent learning, side hustling, or relaxing are instead spent at hardware stores or negotiating with contractors. Renting shifts that burden away, freeing your time and energy to focus on income-generating activities or personal growth. The pride of ownership may feel rewarding, but it comes with stress and constraints that can quietly erode your financial and personal freedom. Buying a home should be a deliberate choice based on long-term plans, location stability, and favorable price-to-rent ratios, not a cultural obligation or a misguided step toward wealth. A house is a place to live, not a guaranteed path to financial security. By rethinking this narrative, focusing on investment opportunities that truly build wealth, and prioritizing liquidity, mobility, and optionality, you can achieve financial freedom without being chained to mortgage. Now let's dive deeper into the numbers, because the math behind renting versus buying often tells a story that contradicts conventional wisdom. One of the most powerful tools for evaluating this decision is the price-to-rent ratio, essentially the PV ratio of housing. You calculate it by taking the cost of a home and dividing it by the annual rent of a comparable property. For decades, financial advisors suggested that a ratio below 15 signals buying is more sensible, while a ratio above 20 favors renting. Today, in many major cities, San Francisco, Toronto, New York, Sydney, this ratio often hovers around 25 to 30 or higher. This is a glaring signal. The cost of owning far outweighs the cost of renting. People locked into buying at these prices are betting heavily on appreciation, all while their liquidity is tied up, their flexibility limited, and their risk exponentially higher. The hidden cost of homeownership extends far beyond the mortgage. Consider the opportunity cost of the down payment alone. For a $500,000 house, a 20% down payment requires $100,000 in cash. That money is now trapped in a single, illiquid asset. If instead, you had invested that $100,000 into a broadly diversified portfolio, historically yielding around 7 to 10% annually, it would compound over decades to several multiples of that initial amount. Combine this with the monthly difference between rent and ownership costs invested over time, and the renter often ends up far ahead in net worth. The advantage is not hypothetical. It's tangible, measurable, and consistent. Investing in the stock market, even with its volatility, offers diversification, liquidity, and historically superior long-term returns compared to betting on a single local real estate market. But it's not just about raw numbers. Renting also buys you optionality, the ability to pivot, relocate, and adapt to changes in career, lifestyle, or life circumstances without massive financial penalties. If an unexpected job opportunity arises in a new city, A renter can pack up and move in days, while a homeowner faces months of uncertainty, potential market losses, and significant transaction costs. The homeowner is tethered to their property, essentially shorting their own flexibility. Renting allows you to live in high-value areas without overcommitting capital, enabling you to invest elsewhere, grow your wealth, and maintain agility in a volatile economy. Beyond finances, consider lifestyle and mental bandwidth. Homeownership often comes with invisible, ongoing costs, dealing with maintenance emergencies, managing renovations, keeping up with insurance, and paying escalating property taxes. This constant attention consumes both time and mental energy. Renters, freed from these obligations, can redirect their focus to career growth, entrepreneurial pursuits, learning new skills, or building secondary income streams, activities that have compounding effects on long-term wealth creation. Freedom of time is an undervalued asset, and in many cases, renting provides it in abundance compared to the relentless responsibility of owning a home. In essence, by renting strategically, investing diligently, and prioritizing flexibility and optionality, individuals can build wealth faster, reduce stress, and preserve mobility, all while avoiding the hidden traps embedded in traditional homeownership narratives. The cultural pressure to buy is strong, but when scrutinized through the lens of math, psychology, and lifestyle impact, renting often emerges as a smarter, more deliberate path to financial independence. Now, let's tie everything together and confront the truth that most people are too afraid to admit. Owning a home is not inherently a path to wealth, and renting is not inherently a failure. The decision is about numbers, freedom, and strategy, not pride or social pressure. When you buy, you are locking up massive amounts of capital into a single, a liquid asset that can take decades to appreciate meaningfully, if ever. You are taking on the hidden costs, mortgage interest, property taxes, maintenance, insurance, and transaction fees, while giving up mobility and flexibility in your life. Meanwhile, the money that could have been invested elsewhere, compounding in diversified financial markets, remains trapped in walls and a roof, often yielding lower long-term returns than you would have achieved by simply renting and investing the difference. The true wealth accelerant is liquidity and optionality. By renting strategically, investing the saved difference, and taking advantage of diversified portfolios, you maintain control over your finances and your life. You gain the ability to relocate for career opportunities, reduce your exposure to local market risks, and avoid the unpredictable costs of home ownership. Time is a critical factor. The earlier you start investing, the more your money compounds, building a cushion that grows silently but relentlessly. Every dollar you direct toward investments, rather than locked in a home, is a building block for future freedom, a hedge against market fluctuations, and a tool for creating generational wealth. Renting doesn't mean you are throwing money away. It means you are deploying it in ways that produce returns, rather than tying it up in expenses that don't. Finally, let's confront the cultural script head-on. The American dream has been sold as home ownership, but the modern economy tells a different story. The price-to-rent ratios in major cities are astronomical. Home prices continue to outpace wages, and mobility is more valuable than ever. The narrative that renting is throwing money away is no longer accurate. In many cases, it is financially backwards. By understanding the unrecoverable costs of buying, calculating ratios carefully, and investing wisely, you can achieve far more wealth, freedom, and peace of mind than a homeowner shackled to a 30-year mortgage. A house is a place to live, not the ultimate investment. Real wealth comes from assets that work for you, not liabilities that you pay. Run the numbers, reject the cultural pressure, and choose the strategy that maximizes your financial freedom. Rent with intention, invest with discipline, and let your money build the life you actually want. Hit like if this changed the way you think about wealth. Subscribe for more insights to challenge traditional financial myths. And remember, freedom and prosperity are created by smart decisions, not by following a script that no longer serves you.